So we'll start with making the Irish soda bread, and start with the flour, 4 cups. And 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And sometimes the baking soda is not too condensed, so we measure it again so we don't have too much. Because if you have too much, it makes the bread, doesn't taste good in the first place, but it makes it kind of reddish. So 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And if it's not exact, it's all right. Baking soda is more important to get it, not too much of it. And some salt. I usually measure a little in my hand, which is probably the same as a teaspoon. And so, of course, the sugar. And mix it up a little bit. And then we cut in the butter. I usually use almost half a cup of butter and just cut it in like this. It almost means that I use a little bit to oil the pan. And then we break it up. And my mother always used to say, if you hold it up over the rest of the ingredients, it gets air into the bread to make it lighter. I don't know how true that is, but I like to do it the way my mother did it. This takes a couple of minutes. So we do this until all the lumps of butter are gone. It's easier when the butter is soft because it blends in better than, you know, when you can't just take it out of the refrigerator and lose it. Okay, so the next thing would be the raisins to add. And we're using the dark raisins today. You can use the light raisins if you want, whichever you got around or whichever you bought. And here we had 10 ounces. 10 ounces in a package. So I use the whole thing. Because what else would you do with it, right? Make sure they're broken up so that you don't have clumps of raisins. So everything is well mixed now. So we're going to use 2 eggs. Beat them up a little bit so they're not lumpy. And the buttermilk. This is 16 ounces, so we'll use enough to make 2 cups. Just mix it a little bit. I'll dirty everything this year. So I'll get a spoon. Sometimes depends on what kind of spoon you like to use. Larger or, well, not any smaller than this. And we put most of it in. You can always add more, but you can't have less. I mean, less wouldn't work. You know that. So you just mix it enough to get it all together. I guess we should have a little more flour to add if we needed to. Now, I didn't use all the mixture of milk and egg because less was better. Who knows, you know, what exactly you should use. It depends on the flour, it depends on a lot of things. But if you use less, you can always add. Whereas if you use more, too much, it doesn't work out as well. You kind of knead it so it's all together and in the shape of what is it? The shape of of bread, right? And then you try to get all especially the raisins in there. You don't want to knead it too much because it makes for not a light bread or cake, as we would call it. So it looks fairly good. So you just pick it up like this and put it in the pan. And then flatten it so that it fills the pan. I believe this is a 10-inch pan, and the ingredients is just enough to make a nice cake. So now you've got it nice shape, and you just make a cross in the middle. In the old days it was considered lucky to do this, but then you read sometimes that it's actually going to make it more even. But okay, so here we go. That's it. And lots of raisins for sure. You could use less. I wouldn't use more. Now it's ready to go in the oven, and it would be a 350 oven, and for 3/4 of an hour. Check it then and you can take it out and put it on a cooling rack, and then it's ready to eat in about a half hour. Okay, so the bread is done, baked rather, and I'll test it to make sure it's done. I use a wooden skewer, but you can use a toothpick. It has to be wooden though, because the dough, if it's not done, will stick to the wood, whereas if you use metal, it just wouldn't work. So I test it like this, and then I rub it with my fingers to make sure that there's no dough stuck to the skewer, because that's what tells you it's done, which is done. So it did take an hour to bake. Who knows why, but it may be the oven, it may be the time of day, it could be anything. But you have to make sure that it's done, and the way to do that is with a skewer or a toothpick. And if there is no dough left on the toothpick, it's done. So then you get it out of the oven and get it out of the pan, which should be very easy. And look at that, it's perfect on the bottom and perfect on the top. We can't cut it right away because it kind of would crumble. We have to leave it for about a half an hour before you cut it, because it would just crumble and lose all the effect of good old Irish soda bread. So there you go, all done. So now we're going to have our tea and cake.
Betty's daughters made their own version of soda bread earlier before we got our lesson, so we're gonna do a little taste test here with theirs and Betty's and see which one Betty likes best. The judging begins.
So here we go. Number one, table number one, right? Okay, I'll just break a piece off, just like they do and whatever. And
Future.
Very good. I could eat that for breakfast every day of the week. And then
That was good too?
very, very good. What can you say? And then table number 3. I love raisins, so I'll have raisins first.
The first one?
I like this the best, but they're all very good. I would not refuse eating either one.
Well, that's good, Grandma Betty, because you're going to go home with some. So is
We're all going home.
so is grandchild from another mother, Claire. All right, that's cool.
All right.
Thank you.
And now, Colin Roderick and my grandson Patrick Finley are on next. Can't wait to see them. Yoo-hoo!